Now turn to religion. This morning in Virginia, a large convention of atheists is gathering. Men, women, children who all proclaim that God does not exist. Still, of course, the minority view in this country, but it is a view that is becoming more and more vocal with more and more members every day. Here's ABC's Liz Marlantis.
They are proclaiming it on bumper stickers. If you want a country run by religion, move to Iran. On T-shirts. They're even rapping about it.
Yeah, I've said it before. Cut your belief into pieces and leave it dead at the door.
A lot of respectable people are coming out and saying that they are very happy to dispel the myths of the Bible.
Call it Atheism Unleashed. Books denying the existence of God are topping bestseller lists. Congress now has its first self-proclaimed atheist. There are even atheist summer camps for kids.
Over the last 20 years, the number of people willing to tell people on surveys that they don't believe in God has pretty much doubled.
Some are reacting to religious extremism, like the Islamic fundamentalism behind the terrorist attacks of 9/11, but also the rise of the Christian right in the U.S. The internet has also helped bring together non-believers.
So we tested it.
This weekend's convention was sold out and had a wait list of 600 people. Besides listening to speakers, people attending the convention can buy merchandise like born-again atheist hat, atheist on board for those with kids, or after the rapture mints. Or mingle with celebrity atheists like authors Christopher Hitchens and Richard Dawkins.
We do remain, let's never forget this, a deeply religious country.
Atheists are still a small minority in the U.S., and a majority of Americans say they would not vote for an atheist for president. But that stigma may be starting to fade.
We're good people. We're just not God people.
For Good Morning America, Liz Marlantis, ABC News, Washington.
And joining us live now from Washington is a writer celebrated there at that convention, reviled in other quarters, Christopher Hitchens, whose latest book is the bestseller, God is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything. Christopher, good morning.
Good morning.
So, for all the millions out there this morning getting ready for church, how do you explain to them that this country would be better off without their faith?
Well, it would be better for them if they didn't give themselves false consolation and if they didn't believe in myth and legend, not all of it harmless. It's also very important that even if they insist on this consolation, that they realize we live in a secular constitutional democracy that separates the church and the state. My new slogan is, Mr. Jefferson, build up that wall.
You are equal opportunity in taking a blowtorch to all organized religions in your book, but can you really equate religious leaders of various stripes with each other? The Dalai Lama equal to the Ayatollah Khomeini in your eyes?
No. For example, the Ayatollah Khomeini did not proclaim himself to be a hereditary god king, which the Dalai Lama does. But in other respects, the Dalai Lama is a much more civilized person. I just don't think that there are hereditary kings or gods.
You must
I think for a human being to proclaim himself divine is a very deep form of profanity and insult.
I know that you pointed religion as the source of so much war and pain and persecution throughout history, but on the flip side of that, I'm sure you hear the argument, but think of all the good it does every day around the world, the charity, the selflessness.
Well, sure, I've seen some of it, in fact. I've met many people who live their lives in effect for others, many of them atheists, many of them believers. My challenge really is to say, can you name me a moral action that's been performed or a moral statement made by a believer that couldn't have been made by an unbeliever? I haven't yet, I've been issuing this challenge, by the way, for quite some time. I haven't had an answer to it yet, whereas I'm very sorry to say that if I ask any audience anywhere, can you think of a wicked action performed or a wicked thing said in the name of faith, no one has any difficulty in coming up with an example.
Well, if there's a convention now, there certainly must be conventional thinking when it comes to politics. Do atheists have a favorite presidential candidate in 2008?
No, they don't. There's a tendency for atheists to be liberals. It's not necessary. I mean, the supporters of Ayn Rand, for example, will probably all know that she was a libertarian atheist. There isn't certainly a candidate, no.
And if there was...
by the way, I think I quarrel with your introductory piece, which says that people say they wouldn't vote for an atheist. How do they know they wouldn't? They haven't had an offer from a decent atheist yet. And they would have excluded Mr. Lincoln and Mr. Jefferson on that basis. I don't think that's a real question for an opinion poll to be asking. If Republicans had been asked in the 70s, would they vote for a a divorced ex-movie actor for president, they'd probably have said no.
Christopher Hitchens, thanks so much for your insight this morning.
Thanks for having me.